Welcome to Switch It Up. And we are in a fabulous location. Look how pretty this water is.
It's actually Lake Superior.
Yes, but we can't tell you all that information yet. That's in a future video.
Yeah, another video.
This is our Tuesday series video, and we're answering these questions. So we're still in rig types.
Yes, we're talking about is the RV lifestyle for you, and we're talking about, today we're going to talk about larger rig types.
Larger rig types. So we're going to roll the intro, come back, and get the answers we've been all looking for. Like all of us.
Sure.
Roll it.
A man and a woman left their home to switch things up and go on the road. They didn't know where they would go, but it's gotta be better than staying home. They switched it up. They switched it up.
And we're back from that amazing intro.
And you
Look at that.
didn't clap this time.
Oh, look, you want that?
Normally you clap. We are going to be talking about the larger classes in this little scenario, and Sheila's got it broke down. We're going to be more efficient in this because
this is information that I think you all should, just to help you walk through
and I'm trying
what
not
your
to squirrel.
options are.
No squirreling.
You're continuing to talk.
I know, I do that too. I talk a lot.
So
how's it broke down? You said two, and
we have 2 that you tow and 2 that you drive.
look at us. Okay.
And a lot of times this is where you'll start to see people enter into for full timing. Because,
a lot of people.
Yeah, this is, size matters when we're going to need to edit that part out.
No, keep going. It's my 10-year-old self talking in my head.
When you're going to be full time, this is where the larger space, the more space, that's what I'm trying to say. The more space you have, the better.
Absolutely. I love the way you put that. That's beautiful.
Yes, that's a better way to put that. You're not going to edit that?
No.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so talk about how you broke it down.
Okay, so let's talk about fifth wheels. We left off last part with travel trailers.
Yes.
And we were talking about the frame and how there's not as much storage. So when you jump up to that fifth wheel, the frame changes.
Right, and we took a moment and we walked around the dealership we were at, and we were looking at, let's just talk about the generator space. I mean, just in that, because when you're coming from the travel trailers and the larger travel trailers, most of the time in the fifth wheel category, you're going to have a generator. Most people do, not everyone.
You at least have a space for it.
And so you will see in this next part on how when we were walking around, we were discussing some things about just fifth wheels in general, but most of it was showing that difference in the front area of that. So let's roll that real quick and we'll come back. All right, we have showcased you in previous videos that travel trailers, and there's different types of travel trailers, but the main thing I think we need to showcase, Sheila, is probably the frames. Like if you look at the frame,
Yeah, they're like this.
yeah, they're straight across. So now you're thinking, okay, well, what about storage? What about generators? What about solar? You can put solar on there. Generators generally on a travel trailer are separate. You have to set them outside. They don't come on the rig itself. So you have to adapt to that. If you're thinking, okay, well then what's the next step up? And that next step up is
A fifth wheel.
yeah, and there's 2 types of fifth wheels. We have what?
We have fifth wheels that are standard fifth wheels, and then there's a toy hauler fifth wheel.
And then we made our choice based on the toy hauler fifth wheel because we'll go over that later. Everybody on these have what? Down here.
Generators.
Yeah. So this is a used section, and I wanted to showcase this because it doesn't matter what one you choose. They're all generator doors on that front part because of the frame. And then Sheila, what were you saying about whether, like right now, we were looking at new fifth wheels, not all of them come with generators.
No, I mean, a lot of times you have to order that or add that on, but it is a possibility, and it's just on board with you.
Right.
But fifth wheel seems to give you more space, but I'm sure there's shorter fifth wheels and longer travel trailers, but it just seems like there's more space because the height of the ceiling is a little bit different.
Right.
And
And on top of that, on this fifth wheel is generally, on the front part, this is generally a bedroom on the front. So it goes over the thing. So you have, typically, and then you have your frame drop down. And so what you have down here is all your storage. And so you have all of this basement storage on most, depending on the type of fifth wheel. So that
I have seen some front living rooms that I like, though.
And Sheila really, really, really wants to design one from custom and put a front kitchen.
Well, that's a whole nother video.
That is a whole nother scenario played out. But you can see the differences between them. And then you can choose if that's the more space. Along with this comes the higher ceilings. It feels like you just have more. Just seems like more.
I don't know, maybe there are travel trailers with 3 air conditioners, but because, I mean, a lot of these fifth wheels are longer, there's more air conditioning because there's more space.
We have 3 air conditioners.
I'm obviously into air conditioning right now because it's
hot out.
Hot out here.
It is. And a lot of times you'll see more solar placed on fifth wheel. So there's going to be some nuances there. We can jump inside and just kind of show you a general inside. I don't think there's a huge space difference between that travel trailer that we were in on that Jayco, the luxury Jayco, and this. It may be a little more in length. So you can get great. It just is a matter of, do you need more storage? Do you have more children? Maybe you want to be a little more comfortable the way it's set up. I don't know. There's going to be nuances there.
I do like about a non-toy hauler is that you just get a lot more like living space. It's just a little more spacious in the living and the kitchen area. Because otherwise, this is our garage.
Yeah.
Right? But if you don't need to haul toys, a regular fifth wheel is a good option.
And we're back. So that whole difference is when Sheila and I were walking through, you were showcasing that. We were showing the travel trailer. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I do.
You do.
And also the basement storage. Talk about basement storage now.
You start to get more storage. This is where you'll start to see more slides, larger slides.
More room.
Yes, opportunities for a washer and dryer if you decide to go that route. Usually this is where you start to see like full-size kitchens. Now there's options in
full-size,
some of our...
like RV kitchens, not like kitchens you would have in a house, but bigger kitchens.
Yes,
more space.
More space. It's all about more space. Talk about the fifth wheel. I've not towed a fifth wheel, but talk about the towability. I feel like it's more maneuverable maybe from the other two that we're going to talk about.
There's going to be a lot of debates when you come into towing. And that what I mean by that is that when you start looking at the truck you're going to tow it with, because you are going to be using a truck, you're going to talk about six foot beds, 8 foot beds, what's better. Then you're going to talk about the different types of hitches, the Anderson hitches. I mean, you're just going to have all these different things that you can do.
You're going to need probably a larger truck.
You are going to need a larger truck because most of them are going to range into that 15,000 pound range up to say 27,000 pounds. You're going to need, and then when you do that, you have to start researching your own vehicle and if you're going to use a single axle or if you're going to use a dual axle. We are not covering all that. We're only talking about the rig. Now towing, I have never towed anything like this before, and if you've been following our videos and you go all the way back from the beginning and me trying to work through that anxiety, it's not bad. I mean, if I can say I can do it, anyone can. I just got to get Sheila to do it, but it really was a fairly easy learning process, but it is something that you're going to have to work through. But it also feeds into the other rigs as well, because towing versus driving is a whole different conversation in itself. But I think it's been fabulous. The 8 foot bed, you're going to be able to maneuver better and backing up because you have more room. You don't have to worry about crunching your cabin and hurting your truck. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I feel like with the fifth wheel, I love the ability to just we can unhook and then we have our vehicle free to go. So we enjoy that. You don't have that with the other two. The two we're going to talk about, the Class C's and the A's.
Yeah, but they're generally towing behind. That's
right. So either way, you're towing something.
You're going to be towing something. You're going to be any of these scenarios. It seems like that's going to be the case.
So that's just the regular fifth wheel. You have usually a much larger living space area. So if you move to a toy hauler, which is what we have, it's a fifth wheel toy hauler. Mm-hmm. You do lose some of the living space because you gave it up for a garage.
A motorcycle.
well, your toys, whatever toys you'd like to bring
So
along.
those two, I mean, think about this. You have the fifth wheel, standard fifth wheel, where it's all living space. And then you go into the toy hauler, which is the garage and living space. And a lot of people will take the toy hauler and make that garage part extra
Yep.
living space
Yep.
for kids or bunks or
We have friends that made it
offices
their master bedroom
Yeah.
and their office.
Yeah.
And then they turned the front into
One Strange Adventure
Yeah.
on YouTube. Look them up. They did an amazing job where they transferred the front portion of their toy hauler to the children. Children, they're older. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. They're not little kids. They're teenagers.
Yes.
And then in the back, he did a great job where he took that whole thing and turned it into master bedroom, and then he put his office in. He works full time.
Yeah, because he works on the road. But they did a great job with that. So it gives you that flexibility. But more than likely, if you get a toy hauler, you're using the toy hauler part for your toys, because they make fifth wheels that have 2 bedrooms, a bunkhouse and a bedroom.
Right. And you can go and look at. I think my foot's getting wet right now. I didn't expect that to happen, and I'll
Might
tell you,
move up one.
the water's a little chilly.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, and I'm not moving the camera. I'm in it for the long haul. So the cool part is that you can go back and look at when we did our walkthrough in our toy hauler, and I'll just put that link up here. We won't put it in this video, but you can see, and there's both of these scenarios. There's multiple configurations on how your lifestyle is going to be and what you desire. We chose ours based on our living room space and our kitchen because she's an amazing cook and we needed the space.
well, and
And the motorcycle.
the motorcycle.
The donkey.
The donkey determined.
The truck is called Shrek, if you're new to the channel. Our rig's called Fiona. And then we have the donkey, who happens to be that wonderful Indian.
Because you ride the donkey, duh.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the next class, and that would be Super C.
It's going to be a t-shirt.
Ride the donkey.
Yeah, no, you ride the donkey, duh. Okay, so the Super C. This is
Oh, yikes.
this is something that we don't have. We looked at Super C when we started taking our adventure when we hit the road. We'd already purchased everything. We went to the Tampa show, and we actually looked at Super Cs and the Tampa show.
Yep.
And that was an eye-opening experience for us because we never really thought of that avenue.
No, and we've talked to 2 people, I think, that have a Super C, and they just like the driving of that.
Yes.
They feel safe with that. They like the maneuverability. They usually tow a vehicle behind it.
Both of those were Jeeps that they towed behind, so that seems to be a thing.
That's a cheap idea.
Oh boy. Okay, so how about we do this? How about we let them share their story with you and those 2 Super Cs and kind of hear what they have to say.
That's a good idea.
Okay. All right. I am with Art and Rhonda and Sheila, of course. So she's like okay. And we had the opportunity. We had a meetup and we were visiting and hearing about them. They came to visit, and they are actually driving a Super C.
Yep.
And it is amazing, Coach. As you can see, we're kind of hanging out in here, and I won't give you the full detour because it's not the purpose of this video. The purpose is we wanted to share, what was it that we wanted to talk about on the...
Why people chose the rigs that they did. Finding out what they like about a Super C, I think, would be helpful for our crew.
Yeah. And so we're going to kind of look through different rigs, and the Super C is where we're here, and we're going to share... Why don't you share a little bit about, Art, you were talking about why you chose a Super C versus some of the others.
Correct. I've drove a Class A, and I know they've changed the steering mechanism and stuff, but with the Super C, it's just more solid driving down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I like the safety aspect of it, that I've got the motor in front of me. You know, people talk about losing square footage
Yeah.
inside. My front seats spin around. I've never had an issue with that.
Now, he was sharing, though, Art, what did you do prior to this and why this was important?
Well, we had a truck camper.
Uh-huh. But you drove. Who did you drive for?
I drove for the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
yeah.
You got, now see, here's the thing. You've got a little background. The reason he liked that safety was why? Because after driving all those years.
Right. You got a motor in front of you, and plus, on my days off in the firehouse, I drove a concrete truck.
Yeah.
You know, so this size didn't intimidate me. It's only 36 foot. But I like the safety aspect that I've got the motor in front of me, the solid going down the road,
Right.
and it literally drives like a truck, pickup truck. I mean, there's nothing crazy about it.
Yeah, and the
You know?
towing has been really, he's towing an amazing Renegade with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you're able to tow this particular, the Verona is 20,000 pounds.
Yeah.
When you step up into the Classic, you're looking at 40,000 pounds.
And then Rhonda, you like it because
I think what she said was key for me, and as to why I would like it as well.
Yeah, I like the idea that you can get up, you can move around. You know, I don't have to stop all the time when we take our grandkids with us. You know, that you get on the road, 5 minutes later, somebody has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So we've got everything right here. We got our snacks. Kids can move around. Yeah, snacks. We always have snacks.
You can make Art a sandwich.
Can make sandwich. I've even cooked dinner going down the road.
Have you really?
Yes. I made dinner one night. It was really late. I turned the stove on, got my sea legs on, and made dinner. We stopped.
we won't talk about the safety aspects of it.
But it is
But
very.
it
cute
is possible.
Yeah,
It is possible.
And I think the point of being able, you probably get farther than we do, because I'm like, oh, I gotta pee.
Right.
Pull over.
Right.
And you can just be like, oh, keep driving, Art.
Right, and you could do those in the Class C.
Yeah, and the A's.
And the A's, you know. But I think my personal opinion is we went to the Super C. We saw these about 10 years ago, you know, and realized that was going to be our retirement coach. We had a truck camper, we had a Class C motorhome, and then we bought this in September of 2019, and zero issues. There's like 4 or 5 manufacturers. I'd recommend when people are looking at a Super C.
He's kind of opinion on this. Give us opinion.
My opinion is pay attention to the details.
All right, I am with Brian and Jeannie and their wonderful Super C. And they towed this amazing Jeep back here, this Rubicon, behind it. So Sheila and I have been having this debate because she's been leaning towards Super Cs. And we were looking at them at the Tampa RV show, let's see, the beginning of the year, 2021. I was just curious, you've only had this since February, right?
Right.
Correct.
And you've had several different rigs.
We have.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you name those rigs and kind of like what you've had in the past?
We've had started with a 17-foot bumper pole,
See, this is good.
and we took that hunting.
Uh-huh.
Took my son and some friends and quickly outgrew that.
Right.
Went to a 24-foot bumper pole, Rockwood,
Okay.
and that got stolen.
Okay.
Yep.
That causes change.
Yes.
Yes.
And we love that trailer. And so then we got a Jayco Eagle.
Okay. I've heard
and
good
that
things
was
about
a
Jayco.
30,
Yeah.
I think a 34-foot bumper pole still.
And then
really
when did
like
you
that
make
trailer.
the jump up?
So we did a little bit of traveling, and we had been researching different rigs.
Okay.
So kind of looked at fifth wheels, thought about Class A, and kind of at the last minute, we started looking at these Super Cs. And I didn't know the difference between an A and a C
Right.
2 years ago.
Right, and a lot of us don't. That's the reason I wanted to make this video, is because everyone makes a different choice on what they're wanting to do. I imagine, you could say I'm wrong, but I imagine it probably had something to do with your wonderful Jeep and the towing and stuff as well, right? Or because an A can tow as well, but did you like the cab configuration? Do you like the interior better on a Super C than an A?
Not necessarily, but Brian, we were talking about it, and I feel like it's safer. A lot safer.
I've heard this too from another
Yeah.
Super C person. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's all true, but
Right.
you do obviously.
You have the engine right there in front of
Yes,
you,
so
so you're
you've
not
got-
sitting in a big piece of
If
glass.
something happens.
So since you've done this and it's fairly recent, have you settled in? Do you like this configuration? Do you like the setup?
I love it.
As far as organization goes, do you like there's enough space? There's a ton of basement space in this thing too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody was looking at this and they were thinking, would I like a Super C over an A? Can you see a difference between the two that you might lean towards, or are you looking at primarily for a safety standpoint and a towing capacity? It's just kind of probably in your head. It's just what you're more comfortable with.
Yeah, Class A would pull the Jeep
Jeep,
just
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And at this point in our RVing career,
Right.
we are not looking at a big trailer and
Right.
toy hauler behind the
Dun, dun, dun. It's like, I feel like when we do these segments, I'm like, have a superhero power where we can transport from one area to another and then come back.
Just because you feel like that doesn't mean it's true.
I have an outfit. I can bust out.
Stop. Remember you said you were going to be good and you were going to stay on
I have
the
an
information?
outfit. If they're new to the channel, they didn't see the outfit.
Okay, we have information. This is an information time.
We are informing you.
So let's
stay with the Super C.
Okay.
Now, we heard what they had to say, and a lot of that came down to their importance they felt was security and having the engine in front of them, and also they felt more comfortable with the way that rig maneuvered. They felt like it was down a little lower, like they had more stability in that driving and towing.
They still have a good amount of storage space.
Oh, yes,
you can
stupid,
still
like
have
crazy.
You still have generators. You still have solar.
Now, I will say, in my opinion, and I'm sure somebody will tell me I'm wrong, but in my opinion,
it's just opinions.
It is an opinion. It's okay to have that. I think the Super C has just a little bit smaller amount of space, and I've seen some of the bigger Super Cs, but in comparison where we're going with the Class A, it just seems like just a little more compact. But in both scenarios coming up, like the A, what we're getting ready to talk about, I mean, it's just an amazing.
You still have everything you
Yes.
need. You have a kitchen, you have a living space, you have a bathroom, you have your bedroom. You can have your washer and dryer. I have seen a Super C that is a toy hauler. I've only seen one that way though.
And we've only seen one Class A as a toy hauler.
Yeah.
So far.
So far.
But we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. We keep learning.
So let's move right on in, and we'll tie some of the Super C and A stuff together because there's some things that come into play. Let's move into Class A's.
Yes, those are like
The
what
big
people.
mama jamas.
When somebody says.
When you see them coming in, you're like, that is so cool. There's a cool factor to a Class A.
Most people, when they think about RV, I think this is probably when you say
That's the
RV.
creme de la creme.
When you say RV, this is what people think.
Unless you go to what the video we just shot with Spacecraft. That was an amazing thing.
Yes, but
that's
when
a
people,
whole category. You can
you're,
build
you're
it yourself.
losing. You're.
I know, Class
you're,
A's.
come back.
Squirrel.
Come back.
Squirrel.
Come back.
Sorry.
You are. When you think about an RV, this is what I think people think about as a classic
Class A.
Class A motor coach.
Towing that thing down the road.
So let's talk about talk about some of the positives I think in a Class A, and it would be the same in a Super C, is that you can drive and I can maneuver and get back to the back.
Making lunches, using the restroom.
Sitting on the couch.
It's a lot better with maybe people with some disabilities in that scenario played out, because you do have that open space that you can take care of some things that need to get taken care of.
Yeah.
Even if you're pulling over into like a rest stop, even in you can just get up and turn the chair around and go and eat and take a nap.
Or if it's raining or snowing, you're not getting out to have to.
Why would we be anywhere with snow?
Well, that's a good point. But if it's raining, you don't have to get out to unhook from the tow vehicle to put your jacks down. You just push a button and ta-da, you're there.
Is that your own superhero? Ta-da, the setup.
Ta-da.
The other thing on the Class A we've heard over and over and over again is sitting with that big windshield in front of you, you have like this picture window of U.S. or where you're driving. So there's a lot of people talking about how they just love that view.
Well, and they a lot of them love how they just the driving of that unit,
because you can see right in front of you. You have more
you know
vision. You feel more comfortable.
You know where your wheels are. You know where you are probably going to tow something, because you're not going to unhook that every time to drive.
Let's go to Yellowstone.
Yeah, you
that
can't.
Ain't gonna happen.
No, but a perk of a
she's on it now. Look out.
Perk of a Class A is there are motor coach only RV parks. There's some beautiful ones.
Like I said,
oh,
creme de la creme.
Love to be able to stay there, and then you start reading the fine print and you're like, oh, I can't qualify.
I'm just in this silly toy hauler.
I'm in a fifth wheel. I can't stay there. So there are some just motor coach only.
Now, when we were at the same RV park when we were walking around, we looked at some used Class A's that they had there, and the reason I wanted to do that was to show that they wear like anything else. They don't just stay this beautiful thing. You have to put some time, energy, and effort into them. And what I mean by that is whether you're doing a Super C or a Class A, I had to learn this the hard way. I've never owned a diesel. So when I went to go get the oil changed in my brand new Ram 2020, I was thinking, I'll wheel it to the dealership, and I sat there, go in, and he's going, okay, I'll go back. I was like, hey, just out of curiosity, how much is it going to cost? And he's like, oh, it'll be right around $510. And my jaw,
Sticker shock.
He saw me and he's like, oh, you've never owned a diesel before. And I was like, no, I was thinking like $100, maybe $150. And he's like, oh no, you have to change out the water separator. You got like 3 filters you got to do. And anywhere that oil change on just my truck alone is anywhere from $350 to $550 is what I've learned. So think about magnifying that with your Super C or your Class A. There's going to be more of a maintenance cost issue coming with those 2 vehicles. Now granted, your oil changes on my truck, and this is the only experience I have, is generally 15,000 miles. On those other vehicles in the diesel, now you can get A's that have gas, or that's a whole other debate, or an A that has diesel, or Super C the same way. I'm not going into that debate. I'm just sharing with you that if you go the diesel route, the maintenance costs associated with that's going to be more. And tires, a set of tires on a Class A can range anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000. On average, they can go higher. So you have to keep that in mind too. You don't have to change those as much because they're just meant to go a little bit farther. But yeah,
just the maintenance of a C and an A, I do think is
Super C is probably a little better.
You just have to count that into your budget.
Yep.
We're just doing the maintenance on your truck to drive around.
Yes. And when I love what we're doing currently, I just see this portion of it after now doing this for just a few months. I now understand that cost associated with having something so awesome, because there is a cost with that as well.
Yeah.
Not just to mention, you can get your Super C's and your A's in all different price levels.
And all different sizes, different lengths, but they do have amazing storage underneath.
Oh gosh, the basement storage is fabulous. Generally it'll go sometimes all the way.
And C's, I guess. Super C's do as well. They have just a great storage ability.
So yeah, we see the benefits of everything. And again, it comes back to those decision questions they asked themselves a while back, and budgets and things like that. But a lot of that plays into the rig type that you're going to choose and how long they're going to be on the road and stuff.
Absolutely. If they're going to be full-timing it, or I don't know that I've ever seen an A just parked somewhere and it just stays there forever.
I've seen it in a couple of the parks we've been at that you can tell they've been there. When we were in Vegas, that A had been there
for a while, but typically that's not what you...
No, typically, remember, whatever rig you're choosing, all that is the way, your transportation to get to this.
Yes.
Look at this, kayaking. Look, we gotta see this. This is what it's about right here. So all it is the mechanism to get to this. How you get to it and the style you get to it is going to be your personal choice. But once we get here, we're out. We're all doing
I see tents. I've seen pop-up campers. I see A's, trailers. Everything is in this park.
Yeah, sun's getting ready to set. I mean, it's just beautiful. The water's crystal clear. We're going to enjoy our time here, and we'll bring that to you in the future. But we're hoping that this helps. And our next segment that's coming here next Tuesday ought to be the transition into some other things we're going to talk about in this lifestyle.
Yes.
Yep.
How you're going to travel and ways to do that.
Oh, you got that? You're finally going to talk about that?
No, don't go there.
Oh.
Not
No,
that.
not yet.
Not that yet.
Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember, if you enjoy this content, please like, comment, subscribe. It tells the YouTube algorithm, hey, stuff's actually worth something for somebody to watch, and if they're getting ready to start this RV lifestyle, it gives them some foothold and a path that they can go on. So please do that. We'd appreciate it as we continue on our journey. Until then, Sheila,
we're out.